Look who we got here.
As the holiday season approaches, Jesse and I wanted to take a quick trip over to San Antonio, Texas to check out Rounders Card Club. We were invited here by none other than Bet on Drew to come play in a main event tournament, play on the live stream, and just in general, check out the cash games and all the action that Texas has to offer. Our travel buddy for this trip was the always hilarious YouTuber and podcaster, Miss Nikki Limo, who we got to explore the Riverwalk with and have a fun night of karaoke.
Thanks, Drew, for the personal service.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's coming in though, right?
One of the first people to greet us was Cedric, aka the Poker Traveler, and he gave us a very quick tour of the Rounders card room.
Quick 15-second breakdown of the room. Golf simulators, barbershop, check-in desk, cages, private boxes, lots of tables, high stakes area, bar, restaurant, bathrooms, smoking area, and I live here.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Today, we're playing a $1,400 $1 million guaranteed in the prize pool main event here at Rounders Card Club in San Antonio, Texas. We're firing the last day one of the week, hoping to capitalize on some of that infamous Texas action. We kick things off with $50,000 in tournament chips. Even though we're 4 hours late, that's still good enough for our 50 big blinds. And one thing that's unique to this tournament is that the big blind ante is half of the big blind ante size, which means it's a really good structure. It's going to go a little bit slower. You can tighten up your ranges a little bit, but it's Texas, so we might throw that one out the door. In this first hand, I open King 10 off from the low jack, and no less than 3 people come along to a 4-way flop. Dealer puts out the King Jack 7 flop. Checks to me, and I think with the absolute worst king that I open with in this position, with 4 people already seeing the flop, I'm going to be checking this one. So that's what I do, and the button follows suit. The turn card pairs the jack and brings a backdoor flush draw. And in less than 3 seconds, small blind leads out for 6,000 chips, which is 2/3 of the pot. And he was first to act. He bet really quickly, so this looks strong to me. But like I said, it's Texas. I'm hanging on at least for one bet. So after the big blind folds, I toss in the call, button folds. So we both see the 3 of diamonds on the river. Now my opponent slows down with a check. I don't think I'm going to be scraping a lot of value out of much worse than my hand, so I happily check it back. And to my surprise, my opponent has ace 4 of clubs for exactly nothing. He barreled that turn huge into 3 other opponents, no fear, just with the ace high, no backup plan. So I'm already noticing a huge difference between my Vegas opponents and my Texas friends, because I don't see people in Vegas leading too often with total airballs in a huge multi-way pot. So something to keep in mind through the rest of the tournament. Happy to take this one down. In this next one, Under the Gun 2 opens to 2,500. He'd been a super active player. The small blind makes the call, also been very active, and putting in a lot of chips post-flop. So I want to be getting in the mix with these two as often as possible. And I look down at a very easy call in the form of pocket 5s from the big blind. So I flick in the extra 1,300. 3 of us go to the Queen 7-5 rainbow board. Bingo! We make bottom set right on the flop. But unfortunately, the Under the Gun 2 player checks it back. So on the turn, the dealer puts out the 8 of diamonds, but I don't know if you guys caught that. My opponent already was reaching for chips in the small blind before there was even a turn card, which I kind of noticed going into this. So to me, that seemed like he probably had a stronger hand, or at least something he was really interested in seeing chips with already on the flop. Anyway, he grabs 3,500, tosses it out there. I want to be doing some raising right now just to get more money in the pot. Once the Under the Gun 2 player checks back the flop, I can't really count on him doing any raising at this point. It wouldn't make a lot of sense. So I'm going to do the raising myself. I make it 9,000 to go. Under the Gun 2 folds, and the small blind doesn't think too long before making the call. Starting to get juicy. The river is the 3 of hearts. Playing in flow, my opponent checks it over to me. There's 26,000 in the pot at this point. I've got more than that. I've got like 37,000 back. But based on that turn read and just how stationy people have been during the past hour of play at this point, I thought that if he had something decent, he would be calling all of it. He wouldn't really pay attention to the size that much and would just be calling all of it. So I go for the glory. I put all my chips in the middle. Unfortunately, he almost snap folds. So I don't know what he really could have had that was so excited about getting chips on the turn that snap folds this river, but he really didn't have much of a decision. So making a set, taking in yet another pot, and on to the next one. One of the more cautious players at the table opens up in the next hand to 2,800 from under the gun too. I'm in the cutoff with ace king offsuit, so obviously we're going to be raising this up. I make it 8,500 to go off of a 50 big blind stack. The big blind, he's not afraid to get in the mix, so he tosses in a cold call, and the under the gun 2 player flicks in the remainder as well. All three of us see the king 5-4 rainbow flop. The most beautiful flop that you could ask for when you have ace king offsuit in a 3-bet 3-way pot. Checks all the way to me. I continue for a small amount because it's a super dry board, and I'm not worried about basically any turn card. So I bet 8,000 in 26-7. Unfortunately, the other two opponents fold. And look at that. We're scraping in yet another one. And after an hour and a half in this tournament, we're up 20,000 in chips. Not bad. An entire hour passes before another interesting hand comes up. And here it is. Low jack opens to 4,500. The blinds have gone up to 2K, so he opens to 4,500. I'm on the button with ace queen offsuit and 51K in my stack. I think I could go either way, but on this stack size, I decide to just make the call. So heads up, we see the queen 3 deuce rainbow board. That's right, we're still running good. This low jack has been playing pretty well, normal sizing, so he seems like a regular. He's got a Austin, Texas, the Lodge Poker Club sweatshirt on, so I'm thinking that he plays a good deal of poker. On this flop, he c-bets a very small size. He goes for 4K, probably standard. But with top pair, top kicker on this stack size, I want to be starting to build a pot right now. So that's what I do. I raise it up to 11,000. And after some consideration, he does make the call. So pot's getting juicy. The turn is the 6 of hearts. Doesn't change too much, but when he checks it over to me, if I had some bluff raises on the flop, I would probably start giving up on the turn. With the stack to pot ratio like it is, I'm not worried about getting in the rest of the money on the river. So that's why I decided to check it back, get a little sneaky with it, and be a little bit more confusing. If I had bluffs, I would check this spot. So that's why I kind of want to lead him into thinking that I have a give up. The river is the 10 of diamonds. He checks it once more. I'm going to spring the trap and go all in for a pot size bet. I think the way I've played this is a little bit confusing, maybe a little tricky, but again, it's in keeping with how I would probably play bluffs. And so if I did have a bluff that raised a flop, then check the turn, I would be wanting to put maximum pressure on the low jack, who has now checked to me again on the river. So going for this sizing, fingers crossed that he calls it off. He does take a really long time. He sits in the tank for a bit, mulling it over. Eventually, he puts it in the muck. So after losing all the profit for the past hour and little pots here and there, climbed our way back up to being up 20,000 chips. And just when I'm starting to feel settled into my table, I'm getting a good feel for how people are playing in this card room. Look who sits down right across from me. Looks like he's on bullet number 2, guys. He bluffed it off. Now he's over here at my table. Out of all the players in Texas, this is who we're gonna have to be up against. Good luck, us. And only a few minutes after that ace-queen hand, I pick up another premium today. Ace-king offsuit, yet again. This time we're in the low jack, and I'm gonna raise it up to 4,500. The button, who's been very active, makes the call. Jesse folds his small blind, and the big blind flicks in the call. So 3 ways we see the king 7-4 all diamond flop. So monotone board. We do have top pair, but I don't want to bloat this pot yet without having any diamonds. And I'm going to be checking this flop a lot, so I'll do so here as well. Just a little bit of deception and some pot control. The button checks back, and all 3 of us see the jack of hearts hit the turn. Once the big blind checks again, I think it's time to start putting in some value bets. I don't think the button would be checking back too many made flushes on this flop, and I don't think that the big blind would double check to me with any already made flushes. So ace king is looking to get some value at this point, so I put out a sizable bet of 10,000 chips on the turn. The button doesn't take too long before tossing in the 2 pinks. Big blind folds, and now it's just me and my nemesis over there on the button. We've sort of developed a history now on the 6 of diamonds river. Womp womp. 4-2, a flush at this point. That's definitely going to hit the button's calling range on the turn a lot. So I slow down, I check it over to him. He immediately tosses out 25,000 chips on the river. That is a sizable bet into a 36,000 chip pot. As much as it pains me to have to fold this as played, I think it's the best decision. So that's what I do. I lay it down and we find ourselves yo-yoing back and forth between up 10K, up 20K, and we're just looking to try to climb our way up and continue in that upward direction. One of the coolest people we met on this trip was Corey the barber. Hanging out at the Rounders Barbershop was really fun, very chill atmosphere, and he decided to get a deck of cards and go around and ask all the poker players to start signing cards for him. The next time I find myself in the cutoff, I have 10-8 of diamonds and open it up to 4,500. Same guy in the big blind who has been in almost every single hand so far in this vlog makes the call. Heads up, we see the ace-9-7 rainbow flop. So we're open-ended. There's the ace that we can represent on the board. I think this is pretty simple c-bet. So when he checks it to me, I toss out 4,000 chips. He is undeterred and makes the call. The turn is the 6 of hearts. Bink! We hit the straight on the turn. We're running pretty good so far in these runouts, you guys. Even though that diamond hit on the last hand, this turn more than makes up for it. When he checks it over to me a second time, I'm gonna size up on the turn like I usually do, hoping, praying that he actually has an ace. So I make it 13,000 into 19K. Unfortunately, it doesn't take too long before he folds and continues his conversation with his new best friend, Jesse. So at this point in the tournament, we're almost 4 hours into the day. I'm a little bit hungover and a little bit sore from travel, not gonna lie. So I had gotten a massage. I'm sitting here in a very fancy massage chair at the table when I look up and notice Jesse is all in for his last 10 big blinds. So when I look down at pocket 10s in the big blind, I pull my camera back up just in case I have to bust my own fiance. Fortunately, that's not how things shake out because the button calls him off and then the small blind goes all in over the top of that, having me well covered. Now pocket 10s has really shriveled up in value. It's an easy fold at this point. Button then calls it off as well. So Jesse has an opportunity to triple up if he can bank something on this run out. He is in bad shape. He's got king queen offsuit against the button's ace king and the small blind's pocket jacks. Once the ace hits on the flop, it doesn't look good for him. He's dead on the turn, and then pocket jacks binks a set on the river to scoop the whole thing and get a full triple up. So GG to Jesse. Good luck in the next bullet. So at this point, we've had ace-king flopping top pair, ace-queen flopping top pair. We've made bottom set. We've made a straight. Why not take our chances with pocket aces? In this one, the cutoff opens to 7K, and on this particular stack size that I have, around 25 big blinds, a little less, I think it's fun to mix in some traps on the button with pocket aces in particular, especially because behind me, there's a semi-small stack in the big blind who could easily rejam over my perceived weak holding that just calls. I think this is a great stack size to trap with aces, so that's what I do. I flick in the call, and the small blind comes along as well. So we're starting to build a huge pot. There should be no problem getting all of my chips in the middle at some point in this hand. So the flop comes out 6-3 deuce, 2 diamonds, and yep, I've got the ace of diamonds, so looks like my bases are all covered. Small blind checks it over to the cutoff, who then decides to bet 10,000, sizing up a little bit more than he usually does. With the ace of diamonds, I'm gonna just call, and the small blind folds. So heads up, everything's going according to plan. The turn is the 10 of clubs. 2 flush draws on board now, so when cutoff checks to me and I have slightly more than the pot size, I think this is the perfect time to just rip it all in. I don't want to get cute and go a little bit too small and give all of the draws odds to get there. I just want to end the hand now or get it in against worse pairs than mine that would call off on this turn anyway. So go for the glory. I put it all in for 51,000. My opponent almost snap fold, doesn't think too long, so he probably didn't have anything. And 4 hours into this, you guys, we are finally almost up to 2 starting stacks. 30 minutes after the aces hand, they tell us that 39 people in this tournament on this day 1 flight are going to be in the money. So with 81 people left, we're getting so close. We're just going to have to keep plugging away, trying to build this stack So far the day has been 2 steps forward, 1 step back type of thing, which isn't terrible. We still have more chips than we started, but we need to increase our stack size really quickly if we're gonna have a chance of making a deep run in this thing. We find that chance when Hijack, who is a monster stack at our table, opens up to 10,000 in chips. He has been raising a lot of hands. He knows that the bubble is coming somewhat soon. He has been putting on the pressure, raising a lot of hands. So I know that against him, I can get a lot of reshoves through. So when I look down in the small blind at ace 10 of hearts, I have less than 20 big blinds out there. It's time. This is the moment to just put it all in, try to either get him to fold or hope we win a flip. Big blind folds, and the Hijack super snaps me off, flips over, pocket aces. So terrible hand to be up against with the ace 10, and the board runs out clean for him. We're out of there, 4.5 hours into this grind, and looks like we're gonna be on bullet number 2. And out of all the tables in Texas, all the people we flew across the country to play with, I get sat down with none other than Jesse once again, and Nikki Limo, who we also came to Texas with. So it's gonna be a fun one. Very social table. I'm happy to be playing with them. This table was where all the action was at, and unfortunately I wasn't involved in too many of those hands myself before picking up pocket queens. I min-raised from early position. My friend who I played with the night before in a cash game, who I know is wild, called from the cutoff. We both see the 8-7 deuce 2 spade flop. I see bet, he calls. The turn is a 9, bringing a second flush draw. I rip in my last remaining stack, which was less than the pot. He snaps me off, you guys, with 6-5 offsuit. So yeah, calling in the cutoff with 6-5 offsuit against my early position open. These guys love to gamble. They're ready for action. Unfortunately, they got me this time. Bullet number 2, we were out of there super late at night, so that was all she wrote for me in the main event. Even though Jesse and I had no luck with our combined 6 bullets in this tournament, we're sticking around. We're going to play on a live stream. We're going to play some cash games, and that'll be in the next vlog.
We got Yuchin, Rhonda, Teddy, Rob, Chad telling us the rules.
Man, had a good plan.
Ingram know.
Jesse.